Before we start, let me just say that I'm not perfect. My diet isn't 100% clean, but it works for me. I can build muscle, I can burn fat when I need to, and most of the time I feel great. But here's the problem. The internet is flooded with health gurus. They'll tell you what's optimal for your diet, your health. And if they looked at my diet, they'd probably tell me I'm gonna die. Each of these health gurus claims to be the expert with the answer to everything. They claim to be the ultimate authority on everything health, but each one cherry picks data, information, science to back the views whilst insisting everyone else is wrong, whilst simultaneously ignoring data that is contrary to their view. So how do you know who to trust? And more importantly, how do you know what works? Let's break it down. One of the most popular new group of people that have come out are the carnivores, and in particular Paul Saladino. The carnivore diet, if you're not aware, is eating animal products only. So that is mainly steak, eggs, other kinds of meat, fish, butter, those kinds of things. The more extreme carnivores will just eat steak on its own. And they claim that that is all you need for maximum health. And technically you do get a lot of the micronutrients, but you completely disregard carbohydrates. The carnivore diet does put you into a state of ketosis, which because of the lack of carbohydrates, your body starts to use fat for fuel because of the lack of glycogen stored in your body. And the problem with this diet is that 90% of them that try this diet either quit because of health reasons or because of adherence. Eating steak, meat, eggs all of the time is not for everybody. I don't go days without eating carbohydrates. And I know that you can start to remove carbohydrates from your diet and they're not technically essential, but your brain absolutely loves them as fuel. So why would you remove it from your diet? But my problem with carnivores, and Paul in particular, is the carnivore diet raises LDL, which is bad cholesterol. Carnivores then claim that cholesterol isn't bad, and having cholesterol that's absolutely through the roof and the doctor telling them that they need to make a change, they claim to just ignore because it's good. There is a direct link with LDL and heart attacks. The higher your cholesterol, the more likely you are to have a heart attack. But don't let the truth get in the way of a good narrative. Even Paul Saladino, who made his name from eating just meat, carnivore, eggs, has changed and started eating fruit and honey and now calls it an animal-based diet. The problem is, he still wants the fame and recognition for being a carnivore, and people are still following him, even though he's jumped off the diet. The second one is Gary Brecka. Gary Brecka has his own podcast. He speaks on many podcasts and he's even been on Joe Rogan, I believe. But he's got massively exaggerated health claims. He's the king of half-truths. He sounds just about scientific enough to be believable, but he will string you in just to sell you something or get you to follow what he says. And here's why you should be skeptical. Dr. Mike, if you know him on YouTube, did a very good video on breaking down Gary Brecka. And a lot of what he says is just vague. Close enough to science to be believable, but it's not. One example is that he says in one video that your blood glucose will go down to zero. If your blood glucose goes down to zero, then you're dead. Maybe he misspoke. Maybe he just doesn't know what he's talking about. Be cautious of health influencers who promise secrets to health. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And the third one, which I don't have as much of a problem with, but still need to be aware of, is Bryan Johnson. Bryan Johnson is selling a lifestyle, as well as high quality olive oil and other supplements. The problem that I have with Bryan, even though he's science-based, is he's just one subject. This means that what he's doing can't be claimed to be science because there's one of them. To get the best idea of how science works, you need massive amounts of people. He's not representative of the world. And in a science study, a randomized control trial, for example, you would use multiple people testing one variable. Bryan Johnson doesn't test one variable. He's testing 1,000 things at once. So you can't tell which elements of his diet and lifestyle are actually working because he's just bundled them all together. So him claiming that olive oil is the best thing since sliced bread might be true, but you can't claim it to be science because it might not be true, because it might be one of the other supplements that is giving him the health benefits. Then selling olive oil on the back of this might not be quite truthful. And his biomarkers look pretty good, and aging slower than the normal person all seems good in practice. But he's optimizing for biomarkers. It's not necessarily health. Biomarkers do not equal better health. So the real takeaway from all this is, who should you trust? First of all, avoid celebrity endorsements. Most protein powders and supplements sold by people didn't use that particular product to get to look the way they did. Bodybuilders, for example. And I'm not saying that bodybuilders shouldn't do it, because they need to make money to fund the lifestyle and everything else that goes with it. The Rock, for example, if he started being sponsored by a certain protein company, the protein didn't get him to where he was. You should always be skeptical of scientific claims. Science isn't just one study or one guru's interpretation of one study. Look at the full body of research before jumping into a trend. Always look for meta-analysis if you are going into researching yourself. Meta-analysis are a combination of multiple studies which then analyze everything that all of those studies were saying. If 60 studies are lumped into a meta-analysis and all say the same thing, it's more likely to be true for that particular thing. And then finally, be aware of absolutes. If someone says that their way is the only way, then just run as far away as possible. With everything, the poison is in the dose. So aspartame, not bad for you. If you eat a ton a day, it's not going to be healthy. But the same goes with water. If you drink too much water, you will die. The poison is in the dose. And the truth is, there is no perfect diet. The perfect diet is the one that works for you. And the one that works for me is eating mainly low-fat proteins, getting good fats, getting vegetables, vitamins, lifting weights, drinking enough water, drinking Diet Coke, having treats, and that's pretty much it. So the next time a guru tells you to eat the way that they do for optimal health, just ask yourself, are they trying to sell you something? And if you wanted to know 9 different tweaks that you can make anyway to make your diet better, you can click on that video just there and I'll walk you through them. See you in the next one.